The evolution of the Battle of Stalingrad. On the banks of the mighty Volga, a city bore a name that would become synonymous with endurance, devastation, and history itself: Stalingrad. Once a bustling industrial hub, by 1942 it would transform into a crucible where the fates of armies, nations, and millions of lives collided. Today, the streets are quiet. Factories hum, children play, the river flows as it has for centuries. But beneath the calm lies a memory of fire, of rubble, of unimaginable courage. This is the story of the evolution of the Battle of Stalingrad, a battle that would turn the tide of the Second World War and the course of history. Stalingrad was more than just a city. It was a prize of strategic, industrial, and symbolic value. Situated on the Volga River, it was a vital transport hub, a gateway to the oil-rich Caucasus, and home to factories producing tanks, tractors, and weapons. For Adolf Hitler, capturing the city was not just a military objective, it was a statement of German supremacy. For Joseph Stalin, defending it meant protecting a lifeline and a symbol of Soviet strength. Whoever controlled Stalingrad controlled more than a city. They controlled morale, industry, and momentum on the Eastern Front. By 1942, the war had raged for over a year on the Eastern Front. German forces had pushed deep into Soviet territory, capturing cities, towns, and villages. But Soviet resistance was fierce. Every mile gained was contested. Every river crossed required blood. The Red Army had endured staggering losses, but the tide was slowly turning. And now the German army aimed to strike deep into the southern Soviet territories, to cut off the Volga and seize Stalingrad. The stage was set. The German Sixth Army, led by General Friedrich Paulus, was a mechanized juggernaut, well-trained and equipped. Opposing them was the Soviet 62nd Army, commanded by General Vasily Chuikov, a man who would come to embody the resilience of his nation. Chuikov knew the city's narrow streets, ruined factories, and rubble-strewn neighborhoods could become formidable defensive positions. Every building, every street corner could be a weapon in the hands of determined defenders. Chuikov famously said, "We shall fight for every street, every house." This philosophy would define urban warfare in Stalingrad. What followed was the most intense urban battle the world had ever seen. Stalingrad was reduced to rubble, but that rubble became a weapon. Soldiers fought from cellars, factories, and ruined apartment buildings. German tanks prowled the streets, but infantry on the ground turned the city into a maze of death. Snipers perched in windows. Machine guns rattled from every corner. Artillery fired relentlessly, reducing entire blocks to dust. The battle became a test of endurance and ingenuity. Molotov cocktails against tanks, trenches among ruins, and every street was a battlefield. The city itself became the soldier's weapon and prison. By November 1942, the Germans held large parts of the city, but they were stretched thin, exhausted, and vulnerable. The Soviets launched Operation Uranus, a massive counteroffensive targeting the weakly held flanks of the German Sixth Army. Within days, the encirclement was complete. Paulus and his troops were trapped inside the city, facing starvation, freezing temperatures, and constant Soviet assault. The momentum had shifted. The hunters became the hunted. For the first time, the Wehrmacht faced the harsh reality of being surrounded in a city they had fought so hard to capture. Amid the destruction, human stories unfolded. German soldiers wrote letters home describing cold, hunger, and fear. Soviet troops documented their struggle in diaries.
Civilians hid in cellars, scavenged for food, and witnessed unimaginable horror. The battle was not just a clash of armies, it was a struggle for survival, for families, and for a city that had become a symbol of hope and defiance. By February 1943, the German Sixth Army was exhausted. Starvation, cold, and relentless Soviet attacks had broken their strength. On February 2, 1943, General Paulus surrendered. Nearly 90,000 German soldiers were captured. Many would never return home. The city lay in ruins, its factories destroyed, its streets leveled. But the Soviet army had achieved a monumental victory, a turning point in the war that would shift the balance on the Eastern Front. The Battle of Stalingrad was more than a military victory. It was a psychological turning point. The myth of German invincibility was shattered. The Red Army gained confidence, and the Soviets began a westward push that would continue until Berlin fell in 1945.
Stalingrad demonstrated that a determined, well-led defense could defeat even the most powerful military force. It was the beginning of the end for the Wehrmacht on the Eastern Front. Today, Volgograd stands as a rebuilt city, vibrant and alive. Yet the scars of history remain, etched in monuments, cemeteries, and museums. The Mamayev-Kurgan Memorial rises above the city, a silent sentinel over the blood-soaked hills where soldiers fought and died.
The Battle of Stalingrad is remembered not just for its strategic importance, but for the courage, sacrifice, and resilience of those who endured it. It is a story of humanity in extremis, of a city that would not break. Stalingrad was more than a battle. It was a crucible where strategy, courage, and the will to survive collided. It showed the cost of war, the strength of the human spirit, and the enduring power of memory. From the ruins rose resilience. From the bloodshed rose a turning point.
And from a city on the Volga, the world learned the meaning of endurance. If you enjoyed the content we share on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and join the conversation.